We have two board members who are stuck behind a truck coming up 5, and they will be just a few minutes late, so we will wait for them to get here. Okay, I will call this meeting to order, the regular meeting of the Whitko Community School Corporation Board of School Trustees on Monday, July the 20th, 2026 at 5:40 p.m. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will recognize the media. Glad to have Haley Gardner here from Ink Free News. Thank you, Haley. We will have 2.2, a special presentation by April Federling of Policy Analytics.
I'm not April.
You're not?
Good evening. I'm here to introduce our presenter tonight, April Federling. She is the School Service Project Director for Policy Analytics. You also may recognize her as the former Chief Financial Officer at Warsaw Schools, so she knows the area. Her presentation tonight will be on the in-depth analysis of the impact of Senate Enrolled Act 1 that was passed in 2025. We've talked about this in the past. She's going to go in-depth in her analysis and drill down into a parcel level review of the assessed value in Whitko District. And she'll be able to give us some good analysis on the assessed value impact of Senate Enrolled Act 1 and also a good estimate of our property tax dollar impact going forward. I want the school board and the public to know that we will be referencing this presentation probably quite a bit this fall when we do our budget review. We have a public hearing set for September for the 2027 budget, and then we'll be adopting that in October. So we'll be using this presentation as a basis for a lot of that analysis. And then also we're considering doing a new GO bond issuance this fall for several years of bus purchases. And we'll be using this analysis to kind of support and to come up with estimates of that impact of doing that debt service as well. So I'll let April do her presentation.
Well, thank you so much for having me tonight. Like Lynn said, I am from Warsaw. I was at Warsaw for 11 years in their business department as their CFO. So school finance has been in my life always. My dad was a school business manager. My stepmom, she was a teacher for 32 years. So yeah, school finance is a favorite thing of mine, and I wouldn't have left Warsaw but to help other districts across the state see the impact of Senate Enrolled Act 1. So as we get started tonight, I just want to refresh what Senate Enrolled Act 1 has done to districts across the state. So we have new deductions, increased deductions, and then new credits for homesteads. So homestead deductions will be increasing to two-thirds of a home's value until 2031. The 2% class, which is farmland, long-term care facilities, and apartments, they are getting new deductions that they did not have prior to Senate Enrolled Act 1, and they'll be increasing to a third of their value until 2031, or a 33%, so one-third of their value by 2031. So from switching from deductions to credits, homesteads have new credits, which is a 10% credit up to $300 on their tax liability. So if you've gotten your property tax bills, you would have seen that homestead credit listed on there. Back to kind of some assessed value changes. The business personal property tax exemption, it went from $80,000, anything that was listed $80,000 and below for business personal property was exempt from taxation. Now that is bumped to $2 million. So there's a big chunk of assessed value that will be coming out in 2027 due to the business personal property tax changes. And then also, the business personal property 30% floor. They have, if you purchase a piece of equipment, it can follow the depreciation scale down, and instead of flatlining at that 30% and being taxed on that, it can follow a scale down closer to zero. So we'll see decreased assessed values as those values go down. Then there's some farmland assessment changes and then elimination of other deductions. But the major, just to recap, deductions are increasing and we have a new homestead credit, and that's what we'll talk about tonight. And those are things that are happening across the state. One thing I forgot to mention, it's not on that list because it's affecting districts differently, is the local income tax that's ending in 2029. So for your district, do receive the local income tax certified shares. It's a direct check received from Whitley County for roughly $283,000. So it does increase yearly, just depending on the percentage. So by 2029, that'll be a reduction of roughly $283,000, might be up to $285,000, $287,000 by then. But you will no longer be receiving that check with the local income tax changes of 2029. So that's not in our presentation, it's just noted as a side note because that is district specific. At Warsaw, there was no local income tax certified shares or property tax relief credit. That it just depends on the counties that have it. So diving into what your district is made up of. One of the pie charts is not showing up. Sorry about that. It's just showing you your gross assessed value and your net assessed value broken up into the different parcel types. You can see you're largely residential, and I'm focusing on the net assessed value so we can see that they're mostly residential at 62%, agriculture is the 23%, and then personal property make up 10%. So why is net assessed value important? Because net assessed value is the first piece of your property tax calculation. So it's your net assessed value times your tax rate gets you your property tax revenue for your operations fund and your debt service fund. So if we're seeing net assessed values decrease, to get those same levies, tax rate has to increase. So it's kind of a balancing calculation. Or if your net assessed value decreases and your tax rate stays the same, revenues will decrease. So just kind of focusing on that on this first part of the presentation. This next slide here is just to show you, we break down your data into your different taxing districts. We total up your assessed values, kind of show you where your properties land and where your how many parcels are at the property tax caps. You only have about 6% of your parcels at the cap, so you don't see a lot of traditional circuit breaker loss. This next slide is modeled this did not translate well, I'm so sorry. You can see that the deductions we've modeled here for you on the left-hand side of the chart are the blue is the homestead deductions and the green is the 2% class deductions. And they are increasing because the deductions for homesteads are going to that, it's going to be taxed at a third of its value by 2031, and then the 2% class has deductions up to 33% by 2031. So increasing deductions, that's kind of the point of this slide, just to show you. I think on your sheets you can see the exact amounts of the deductions that are increasing. Oh man, it went wild on me here, sorry. So the next slide is what we've modeled for the projections for your net assessed value. This is from our most recent report. The green line is where we were projecting your net assessed values to go before we got some preliminary 2027 assessed values. So when we received the Department of Local Government Finance report for assessed values, and we are actually seeing 2027 look a little bit better than we were projecting. So with the growth in assessed value for 2027, you can see we're seeing you kind of go up slightly, and then for 29 through 31, because those deductions are increasing, we're still projecting for that net assessed value to decrease until 2031, where we have essentially a new deduction floor. The deductions are established, and we'll start to see the projected net assessed value grow from then on. All right, so going from net assessed value to kind of looking at revenue projections. Here's where I noted, again, when you're looking at your operations fund, the certified shares check from Whitley County, that's roughly $283,000. That's not incorporated in here, but just keep that in mind. That'll be going away in 2029. So talking now about homestead credits and circuit breaker loss. So this one, it's a little easier to see than the others. Unfunded credits is what we're calling the total. So traditional circuit breaker loss, and then the new homestead credit, which is again that 10% or $300 max credit that homeowners are receiving. So due to that homestead credit, we see these total unfunded credits go from about $89,500 up to over $422,000 for 2026. So in 2026, this impact can be taken with your debt service fund and your operations fund. But in 2027 and beyond, they have protected the debt service fund, so majority of this impact, and so by 2027, I'm going to say roughly at $420,000 will be the reduced revenue in your operations fund due to these traditional circuit breaker loss and this homestead credit. So this is what we're seeing across the state. If property tax liability is decreasing, if homeowners are getting a credit, that is direct revenue received by the municipal entities, and so that is your portion is roughly $420,000 by 2027, and it does slightly increase. You can see it increases till we've got it modeled till 2036 on there, just under $528,000. So again, reduced revenue in your operations fund from the homestead credit. And you can see that's a big jump from under $90,000 to over $400,000 for districts, especially districts your size where revenues are already tight. The next slide here is just a modeled projection of certified levy growth, unfunded credit growth, and net levy growth. So just to kind of back up to the net assessed value portion first. So net assessed value times your tax rate gets you your certified levy. Then we have to subtract out the unfunded credits to get our net levy, and that's what we actually receive. So if you look at this top chart here, the certified levy is what comes from your calculation, and then we have to say, okay, we have to back out the unfunded credits, the circuit breaker loss and the homestead credit that make up the unfunded credits, and then you'll see your net levies. So if we look at our certified levies, you'll see for 2026, certified levy was just over 7.8 million. Then we have to subtract out that 422,000. So then our net levies are roughly 7.4 million, debt service and operation combined. And you'll see, yes, your net levies do grow, but they're growing at about 450 to almost 500,000 in unfunded, growing 450 to 500,000 less than they would have if we didn't have that circuit breaker loss or the homestead credit. So just looking at this, and we're saying, okay, we are seeing our revenues grow just at a slower rate than they would have, but at the same time, as net assessed values decreasing, just due to the mechanics of the formula, the tax rates are projected to increase. And that's what we're projecting across the state for majority of districts, just due to that mechanics of the net assessed value decreasing or projected to decrease. And so a lot of districts have said, okay, we're going to start managing to that debt service levy, because as you can see, the debt service levy is held flat in this scenario, and I think the district is managing to that. And then the operations levy is following the maximum levy growth quotient. That's a 6-year rolling average. It was capped at 4% for the past few years, but for 2027 it does follow that rotation. It's going up to about 6% for 2027, or right at 6%. So summing it all up, as we're seeing net assessed values projected to decrease from 28 and beyond, To get the levies that we would have prior to Senate Enrolled Act 1, tax rates will be increasing, and just depending on what that net assessed value is doing, that'll depend on how rapidly those tax rates have to increase to receive those dollars. And again, that's something we're seeing across the state with levies held flat, or actually some districts are seeing less revenue because their growth is, or their unfunded credits is outgrowing their growth in the maximum levy growth quotient. So as the unfunded credits outpace the revenue, they'll see less net revenue there to the districts. All right, the last two slides here are just to say, you know, what has been happening in the district. So this first one here, we took your operations net levy and said, all right, of the operations net levy, how much are fixed costs inside of this operation? Something that these are fixed costs that we really cannot control. We have to get our students to our buildings and to and from school. We have to have the lights on. We got to provide water. So what are our utilities doing? We've got to purchase buses to get kids to school. And then what is our property casualty insurance doing? So we're calling these fixed costs inside the operations net levy. And as you can see, they have grown over the past few years. Roughly, and it did not translate on this slide, it's about 48%, I want to say. It's close to 50% of your operations net levy that is controlled by fixed cost. And so here you can see your transportation expenditures have grown about 8.5% over the past 5 years. Utilities up 4.3%, and then property casualty insurance, and I know this is kind of alarming, but we're seeing this across the state, double-digit increases for property casualty insurance. We all know that there's becoming less providers, and schools become a high liability because of the claims that can be just filed against districts at any time. And we've got a lot of property, we've got a lot of buildings, we got a lot of land to cover. So that is not, we are seeing that in a lot of reports for districts. So of these fixed costs, or of your operations net levy, your fixed costs are controlling about half of them. And then the remainder is left for safety and security, custodial, maintenance, central office staff. So you can see, just taking this comparatively, what those fixed costs do of take up of your revenue. So lastly, just to give kind of where have you been cash balance wise and where do you compare to the state average? Looking at this, you know, you guys are looking fantastic. If everything broke loose and you didn't receive any new revenue, you could sustain almost half a year because you've got about roughly 50% cash balance on average. That is a little bit higher than the state average at 35%, but it just depends on the district and what your priorities are, and making sure you have that healthy cash balance. Why do we have a healthy cash balance? Because if we're working with S&P and DUAB, they're going to ask these questions. How much cash do you have on hand? Can you sustain the ups and downs of Senate Enrolled Act 1 or any state changes or any more legislation changes that might come down the pipe from the state? So again, looking good. You can see your expenditures have increased more than your revenues have increased, because if our revenues for operations have been capped at about 4% the past few years, education fund can range between 2 to 3% on average. You can see that the expenditures are outpacing the revenues, but you're keeping that cash balance relatively steady. So again, districts, you guys are doing great things. Just giving you some data to just kind of tell your story a little bit. So there's additional slides just for your knowledge, just kind of backup data. But again, that's really the impact of Senate Enrolled Act 1. We have increased deductions that are going to be driving down net assessed values, and that can affect our tax rate and our tax levies. And then we also have unfunded credits increasing, so that will be reducing our net levy growth in our operations fund. So I know that was a lot really quickly. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I learn something more every time you speak, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
absolutely. It's a lot, and it's ever-changing, and again, it will probably be changing next legislative session, so we'll be, we've partnered with the district, and as those things come along, we'll have more updates for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I guess I'm just glad we're not the only ones sitting up here in northern Indiana. We're not the only school district that's having to go through this.
Absolutely, absolutely not. It's every district in the state. It's just those that, partner with us, they can know what's coming their way.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. 3.0, Principals and Directors Reports. The principals and directors are not required to submit a written report or attend this evening's meetings. So we'll go to 4.0, Donation Grant Update from the Superintendent.
All right, thank you. I would like to thank the Windswell Foundation for $5,000 for Pearson Elementary School's Applied Skills Sensory Room and General Education Calming Corners.
Thank you. 5.0, Public Comments on Agenda Items. We have no public comments tonight. We will go down to 6.0, Business Reports and Consent Agenda. 6.1, the minutes of the June 15th regular meeting and executive session and the June 6th, 23rd special session. 6.2, Accounts Payable, Receivable, Payroll Claims, July 3rd and July 17. Claims for July 15 voided check and monthly transfer. 6.3, the Financial Reports, Revenue Report, Appropriation Report, Fund Report, and Financial Report. 6.4, Extracurricular Reports, PES Extracurricular, SWES Extracurricular, WJSHS Extracurricular. 6.5, Personnel Employment Actions. Do I have a motion to accept the business reports and consent agenda?
I move that we accept the business reports and consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to accept the business reports and consent agenda. Is there any discussion? We will proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye and raising your right hand. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We made that. That one's over. New 7.0, new business. 7.1, approval of $151,399.73 transfer from the debt service to operations. Do I have a motion to approve the transfer of that amount of money to the debt service operations?
I move that we approve the transfer of $151,399.73 from the debt service to operations.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve $151,399.73 transfer from debt service to operations. Is there any discussion? Not hearing any. We will go ahead and approve the motion. We will approve the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye and raising your right hand.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. 7.2, approval of summer school bus driver contracts. Do I have a motion to approve the summer school bus driver contracts?
I move that we approve the bus driver contracts for the summer.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the summer school bus driver contracts. Is there any discussion? We will go ahead and vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye and raising your right hand.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. 7.3, approval of J.G. Bowers as the lowest, most responsible bidder, and the J.G. Bowers contract to renovate the life skills area at Whitko Career Academy.
And this is also assuming pending legal approval when that comes through.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve J.G. Bowers as the lowest, most responsible bidder, and the J.G. Bowers contract to renovate the life skills area at the Whitko Career Academy.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the J.G. Bowers as the lowest bidder and J.G. Bowers contract to renovate the life skills area at Whitko Career Academy pending legal approval. Is there any discussion? We will proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your right hand. Aye. Opposed, same sign. 7.4, approval of 2026-27 Whitko Senior High School Handbook. Could I have a motion that we approve the 26-27 Whitko Senior High School Handbook?
I move that we approve the 26-27 Whitko Senior High School Handbook.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the 26-27 Whitko Senior High School Handbook. Is there any discussion? We will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye and raising your right hand. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. 7.5, approval of field trips. May I have a motion that we approve the field trips?
I move that we approve the field trips as presented.
Second.
It's been approved and seconded that we approve the field trips for, I suppose it's the rest of the summer, ongoing. Is there any discussion? We will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
And I have to say, most of the summer field trips are athletes, band trips, those types of things that do happen in the summer.
8.0, old business. Approval of the wireless devices prohibition policy 4307. This is the second and final reading. May I have a motion?
I move that we approve the wireless devices prohibition policy 4307.
Second.
It's been approved and seconded that we approve the wireless devices prohibition policy 4307. Is there any discussion?
Can I just add that this is from the state of Indiana, just so our community knows. This is legislation that was passed down to us, so we have to adopt it regardless. So we're just abiding by what our legislators are wanting us to do with cell phones, so.
It's been approved and it's been motioned and seconded with no discussion. May I have a vote? All in favor signify by saying aye and raising your right hand. Aye. We didn't have anybody objecting. 8.2, approval of the Teacher Appreciation Grants Policy 3416, replacing 3220.01. This update reflects the current tag selection process. This is the second and final reading. May I have a motion?
I move that we approve the Teacher Appreciation Grants Policy 3416, replacing 3220.01.
Second.
It's been approved and seconded that we approve the Teacher Appreciation Grants Policy 3416, replacing 3220.1. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your right hand. Aye. Opposed, same sign. 9.0, miscellaneous administrative items. The superintendent.
All right, thank you, Georgia. It's hard to believe that school starts in 3.5 weeks, and I'm probably the only one in the district right now that says, I'm ready, let's get some kids back in here. So it's around the corner, and we're excited, and we're ready. We're getting ready. So the biggest thing on the docket right now is to get your child or children registered. That's huge. We're really doing a big push to update all of our contact information. So if there's anyone out there that has not registered, please go on and do that. Open house is scheduled for Monday, August 10th. And our first day of school is Wednesday, August 12th. And we're ready for that. The new cell phone policy that was approved, like I said, this is Senate Act 78. Families received information about this today. I sent out a midsummer newsletter, and it has a lot of just updates, not only from the state, but in the district as well. So if families would look at that, I will also be sending out those news flashes individually, so people should be able to see that on a regular basis. And then I see that we have Zachary Biddle. I just want to welcome you as our new biology teacher at the high school. Do you have anything you would like to add? You're welcome to come down, and we'll put you on the spot.
All right, well, I'm Zachary Biddle. Just thankful to be here, and thank you guys for approving the hire. I'm super excited to join Whitko. New teacher, first year teacher, so I'm really excited to jump in. Mrs. Longabaugh seems like a phenomenal mentor to be working with, so I'm just excited to get my feet wet with her and just to learn from her and just be the best teacher I can be. So
Great. Well,
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Make sure you let us know if there's anything we can do for you.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
10.0, public comments on non-agenda items. We have nobody signed up for public comments. 11.0, miscellaneous school board items. The next school board meeting is Monday, August 17th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. in the Whitko Career Academy lecture room. 12.0, I will call for a motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn this meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye and raising your right hand.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you for coming.